What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about Mafia 4, talk about if this game is actually coming, based off of what we have seen now with the Mafia trilogy, what we know that Hangar 13 is doing, all that kind of stuff I want to discuss. So the Mafia trilogy is out, right? 2 of the 3 games, but technically, well, I guess you can literally say the Mafia trilogy is out, right? It's out in the wild. You can buy it. You unlock Mafia 2 and 3. You get Mafia 1 a bit later, right? End of August. And people are enjoying it for the most part. Obviously, people are very, very excited about Mafia 1's remake as well. And, there's been a lot of talk about Mafia 4. There were leaks dating back to like September, October, November, somewhere, in the fall period of 2019. There were leaks talking about this game. But as time has moved on and on, more people have been saying, is Mafia 4 actually a thing that's happening? And now we're kind of getting a conversation where it's like, well, whether or not we get a Mafia 4, technically, Mafia 1 is kind of like a new game. And I know I use some technically and kind of in the same sentence, but, Mafia 1, it is remade from the ground up. It's going to have new dialogue, new cutscenes, new gameplay mechanics, all this kind of stuff. It really is, in a way, a brand new Mafia game. So, if we're waiting for Mafia 4, at least we have a game that's basically a new Mafia game. And then if we don't get a Mafia 4, at least we have kind of a new Mafia game. And let's talk about, again, the leaks and kind of the talk around what Hangar 13 is doing. And then I'll kind of give my impressions and how I see things going forward. So there were leaks on Reddit, again, back in the fall time that said, okay, Mafia 4, it's going to be in Las Vegas. It's going to take place over 10 years, I believe in the 70s to the 80s. It is going to be larger in scale. It's going to feature literally your crime syndicate is going to be growing, right? You're going to see things change over the time period. It's probably going to be next gen. It's going to be a 2021 release. They had worked on it and they had started prototyping it right after Mafia 3's final DLC came out. They had started motion capture for it around 8 to 9 months ago, and this was back in November. So at this point, it's been quite a long time, right? It's been around a year and a half plus since I guess you could argue that they've done motion capture. And it says that the game was stalled due to internal issues, but there's a small team now basically finishing it up because it's almost done. And again, this was back in the fall. Now, Hangar 13, we know that they're a pretty big studio, I think, with a couple different teams, but we know for sure that they're making a new IP. Their job listings says as much, right? That they're making a brand new IP. And that has scared people, okay? That has absolutely scared people that this game, this Mafia 4, how can it happen if they're making a brand new IP? Well, let me say this, and that's pretty much the end of what we know, for certain. Let me say this, is we know they're hiring for a new IP, and what you see countless times in the gaming industry is this. Actually, a couple different things. One is development teams often make more than one game at a time, okay? Now, they maybe don't have 2 full teams. They maybe are working on one game mostly, and there's a small team working on the next game or staying back to focus on the game that just happened. You know what I mean? That can happen. In fact, that happens literally all over the place. We know examples of Naughty Dog. They have 2 full teams, but we know other studios, even like DICE, we know that most of them moved to Battlefield, but there was a small amount working still on Battlefront 2, and then they all moved over, right? So, I mean, that's just 2 examples of hundreds and hundreds of teams. Now, if it's an indie team, if it's a smaller team, yeah, they focus on one game at a time. I'm sure they have ideas of future games, but for the most part, they focus on one thing at a time. But bigger studios, and Hangar 13 is a bigger studio, they can work on more than one thing. So why did I say all that? Well, they're hiring for people to make a new IP. That's the examples. Now, I cover a lot of Batman stuff. We cover a lot of Warner Bros. Stuff. There's a lot of hirings, a lot of job listings for Warner Bros. Montreal, which is a studio that made Batman Arkham Origins, the prequel games, the Arkham games, and they are hiring a lot of people that basically sound like they're making a brand new game, right? But we know that they have this Batman game in the works that's almost done. So why are they hiring for people to make a game basically from the ground up? Well, it's because they're actually making 2 games at the same time, and we know that, right? So we don't necessarily know the internal dynamic of Hangar 13, but I can wager a bet that they are working on more than one thing at a time. Now, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe other companies helped out with this Mafia trilogy. It's not just Hangar 13. So even that wasn't entirely them. I think it's very, very possible that they are already almost done with Mafia 4, like maybe a year left. And again, because it's like that, maybe they do have a small, I mean, I don't think it sounds the greatest to say, yeah, like the last year and a half of the development of Mafia 4, we had a small team working on it. I don't really think that sounds the greatest, but it's possible, especially if it was almost done a while ago and it kind of got put down and then it kind of, it came back to, people came back to it. If that happened, then yeah, it is a little bit more likely that something like this could happen. You know what I mean? So I think that it's possible. You have to take leaks with a grain of salt. Ultimately, we could find out that these were just all fake, okay? But he has been right, this leaker has been right in the past. On top of the fact that really my strongest argument in support of a Mafia 4 is this: why do the Mafia trilogy? Why? And we've talked about that so many times in all these different videos, and I think there's really no argument stronger than that one. Say what you want about they're making a new IP. That doesn't mean they can't almost be done with Mafia. It doesn't also mean that they can't be making a new IP while also making Mafia 4. That's something that we haven't said yet, right? That's definitely a possibility. Who knows? Maybe the league's strong in terms of a small team. Maybe it's a full team working on Mafia, and then there's another team building a brand new game from the ground up, right? I think that's very possible. In fact, it could even be likely. So, but again, why do the Mafia trilogy? Well, it's what we've talked about in the past with numerous games. I've covered the Crash and the remakes of Crash, so the Insane trilogy, Crash Team Racing. We've done Spyro, the Reignited trilogy. I've covered all of these remakes, and they all follow, most of them, not all of them, most of them follow the same script. Why do you remake? Now again, the Mafia trilogy is a little bit weirder. It's a little bit different in all, but why do you remake? Why do you bring back old games? There's only one true reason, and it's to test out if people still want it. Now again, are there examples where that's not true? Yes. Remember, Blue Point Games made the Shadow of the Colossus remake, right? That was not a pulse test. That wasn't to see if people still like Shadow of the Colossus, right? They're not making a second Shadow of the Colossus. That was a game that was huge, right? Back then, game really one of the greatest games of all time, but not everybody played it. And so they had the opportunity to make it from the ground up for a whole new group of people that never played it before, including myself, and we were able to do that. Okay, so there are examples of remakes where you're just doing it, I guess, in a way for fan service, right? That this is for a brand new, generation of people that never got to play it. But you look at all of these examples, you're doing it to see if people still want it. And for Mafia, that is dead. I think that's dead on the nose of why you do it. You bring back Mafia. Why? To see if people still want it. Now, for Mafia, I guess there's a slight twist on that. It's not just to see if people still want it. It is to put it back in your face to get you ready for future games. See, for Crash, for Spyro, I think those games, especially when Crash came back, the Insane Trilogy, that game was designed to see if people still like Crash. In fact, Activision has almost said exactly that. Now, I'm sure they had plans in place that okay, we want to make a brand new Crash game. But I think for the most part, they were kind of waiting to see how people reacted to the game. And I think they did the same thing with Spyro. Again, probably keeping in mind that they want to make a brand new Spyro game, but they're doing it to see if people still want it. Because let me tell you, if those games come out and they bomb and nobody buys them and they're bad and there's just no reception to them, they're not making a brand new Crash. They're not making a brand new Spyro. I want that for Sly Cooper, by the way. I think Sly Cooper should get remade, see if people still like it, and then get get a brand new game, get a Sly 5. I think that's a very good strategy. So again, for Mafia, I think it's partly that, but it's not even fully that. I think it is, why did you do the Mafia trilogy? Well, Mafia 1 was 2002. It was a long, long time ago, and you have an opportunity to remake it, literally, from the ground up, make it a brand new game, make it really, really awesome for these people to play it. Okay, done. Mafia 2, it's been 10 years since Mafia 2, right? 2010. It's been a long, long time. We have the chance to remaster it. It's everybody's favorite. Let's give it a shot. Mafia 3, we have to include it because it's part of the trilogy. Some people do like it. Some people definitely do like it. We have the opportunity to put together a full game, whereas a lot of people would argue that we didn't get the full Mafia 3 experience when it came out. We get to give that to them now, right? So there are reasons why they do it, but I truly do believe the biggest reason is to get it in our faces and say, hey, Mafia is back. Look at what it did. People are really talking about it. People are excited again. Can you say honestly that people were like this several months ago? I know that when the leaks came out for Mafia 4 and when like I covered those, they did really good. Like I think there's like a silent group of people on the internet that are waiting for Mafia like news to come out. So the videos did good, but there's not like there wasn't like a massive group, right? It's not like everybody was online waiting for it. You know, you got to build it. You got to build the enthusiasm for it. And truly, you know, say what you want. We talked about if Mafia 2's Definitive Edition is a disappointment. Say what you want about these games, but ultimately, they're back in people's heads. People are thinking about them again. People are talking about them again. You're going to let that go? Like, if there's no Mafia 4, then you're doing this just to let it come and go so that in a couple months, we're going to stop talking about 2, and then when Mafia 1's remake comes out, by the end of September into October, when Next Gen comes out in November, we're going to be done. Mafia's going to be gone. That's why they did it, so that it can come and go like nothing ever happened? No, of course not. They did it so that people are talking about it, and then they can hit you again and say, hey, Mafia, a brand new. Now, Mafia 1, yeah, it's kind of brand new, but it is the game. Like, it is Mafia 1. Let's give you a brand new, the next iteration in our franchise, Mafia 4. That's how you do it. It's been done multiple times, and I truly do think that's the strategy. So, I get the worry, but I also do think that with everything I said about Hangar 13, also possible that 2K and Take-Two in general have just given it to a different studio. It doesn't even necessarily have to be Hangar 13. I don't think anybody is going to say, the Mafias aren't the greatest games of all time anyway, so it's not like another studio, it would be so frowned upon if they came up and picked up the mantle, right? I think they would be able to do it. Plus, Hangar 13 was a studio designed to make Mafia 3 in the first place. Technically, they didn't exist before then. So I think that they could have just handed it off. That's definitely a possibility as well. Or it is Hangar 13 that's making it. But I'll stand on this hill. I truly do believe Mafia 4 is real. I truly believe Mafia 4 exists. I think we'll see it or hear about it very, very soon, hopefully within this year. And then hopefully by 2021, we get to play it at some point. So I really do believe that. But guys, let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts? Do you think Mafia 4 is real? Do you think it's fake? Let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll continue to talk about Mafia, and we'll talk about Mafia 1's remake as we get closer and when it comes out. And obviously, if there's anything on Mafia 4, I'll continue to cover that as well, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next video.